Welcome to the Soul Deep Podcast with Jessica Janty. Join me as we dive deep into raw, real, in-depth conversations about life, love, relationships, sexuality, spirituality, what it is we're really here for, and anything in between. I want this to feel like a safe space for anyone on a spiritual journey, trying to find answers in your truth by having open heart and open-minded conversations. And my hope for you as a listener is that you feel this is a safe space here, a place to hear things from a different perspective that may challenge you and your thinking in the best way possible, allowing you to give grace to how you've been raised or what you've been taught or told to believe. And perhaps you find your truth as I search for mine on this journey we call life. So grab your favorite drink, cozy on up to your couch or wherever you listen from, and join me for these soul deep conversations. Welcome back to the podcast. Today I have here with me Danielle. Danielle, thank you so much for being here today.
I'm so excited. This is going to be so good. Listen, I know you're about to jump into all your other stuff, but I have to first say, at the time of recording this, it is your birthday. So I feel so honored to be here on your birthday. So happy birthday. And thank you for spending this time with me.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that shout out. All right. Well, before I start any episode, before I go into coaching and breath work, anything that I do, I love to start with breath, just to ground us into the space here together. So if you're comfortable closing your eyes, go for it. If you at home are comfortable closing your eyes, obviously, if you're driving, do not close down your eyes, but we'll just take a couple moments here just to breathe. So taking some deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. Just allowing your body to settle in here. So just keeping that breath going, that inhale and exhale. Just taking this time and this space for us here. I know often when we are listening to podcasts or doing things, we are on the go. So my encouragement to you is if you do have moments here where you can just take some breaths just to ground yourself in, to give yourself this power of the pause. We're so often going and doing, and so just being is sometimes hard for us to do. Just this moment of stillness, this moment of silence. But in this power of the pause, in this stillness, is where our body's wisdom can come alive. We can hear our body speak. We can just feel into what our body needs. Because when we're so busy and we're going and we're doing, we ignore our body. We ignore the cues that our body is giving us. We ignore maybe subtle pains or just all the things that are going on inside of us. And we give our power away. We look to the outside, or we're just so busy. And so if we can even take a couple minutes every day just to be with our breath, just the slow inhale and exhale. It's so powerful, and it's really healing for our body as well. When we can slow our body down, we can trigger that parasympathetic nervous system, that rest and digest, allowing our body to just take a moment of rest, restoration. It's so powerful for healing. So we'll just take a couple more breaths here together. One more big deep inhale. And a big audible exhale. Our exhale is so great for letting go. And so I don't know if you've ever done that where you're so busy and you're going and all of a sudden you just take this big breath, like, and you just feel like it's almost like your shoulders relax, your body just relaxes. You're like, whew, I just needed that. Sometimes we're going so much that we don't even realize that just a deep breath can help us. So important. So thank you for joining. All right. And then another thing that I love to do is talk about what we're drinking. So I typically am drinking the same thing almost every time, but I do a dandy blend. I have a little bit of cinnamon, a little bit of an almond milk creamer. I just love warm in the morning, no matter if it's cold or warm outside. Like I just love a hot drink in the morning. So that's
Ooh,
what
that's fun.
yeah,
And I love the consistency.
yes, I know.
And I wake up and drink so much water. I'm flooded with water. And so when I'm ready to get in the zone, I have like a confidence like boost before I do something like this. And so one of the things is I drink my pre-workout and no, I am not about to work out. I just did a half a scoop
Yeah,
just for a little energy to like
yeah,
get in the zone.
yeah.
So yeah,
I love it. I love it.
cheers.
Yes, cheers. I love that. All right. So I would love it if you would introduce yourself, just tell us about you and who you are.
Oh boy. So my name is Danielle LaRose, and I am a sociology college instructor turned body confidence coach, wellness strategist, speaker, author. Really, I'm just on a mission to live in a world where every girl and woman looks in the mirror and loves who she sees.
Mm,
So that is my mission. And it's one of those funny things because now I can look back at all the quote unquote weird things that I did, growing up to be like, oh my gosh, that's really been inside of me this whole time without, being able to understand what that is, And so before I even jumped on today, I re-listened to one of the voice notes that you sent me about what the podcast is all about. And when you shared, I just got goosebumps because like so many people that are listening right now, I'm sure you can relate that like this is your jam, right? Why do we do the things that we do? How were we raised? How are we different? And so when you shared that with me, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so good because, as a sociologist, that's all I do is I think about how society has influenced me, my mind, my choices, and really developing the skills for myself to figure out, is that really important to me? From my relationship that I was in for 13, 14 years before ever getting engaged happily, and different, just so many different things that happen in life to where it's like, wow, that's so crazy cool. So yeah, so I got my degree sociology. Then I shifted into fitness, health, wellness world and was like, oh my gosh, what is happening here? We have got to change how this is working because this is not working. And which led me here to where I am with my business today. So yeah, that's kind of an overview.
So what do you do when you said your business today? What do you do now?
Yeah, so combination of things. On one hand, I work with women because, like I said, one of my big visions, is to help girls grow up more confident than we ever thought about being. I spent all of my high school graduation money on a procedure to get rid of all my cellulite. And I didn't wear shorts from 6th grade until I was about 24 years old because I was told and shown that, what the perfect body looked like, and my legs were not it. And so I was doing all of the things to try to change them. And so after going through all that and taking diet pills and doing all the things to try to change how I looked, I've decided that I don't want another girl to ever feel that way, to go through that, you
Yeah,
know? And
absolutely.
so on the one, but with all my research, what we know from social science research is that girls and their body image, so much is connected to their mom, right? How mom feels about her body and how mom deals with health and wellness will have a direct impact on that. So I have moms all the time that are like, will you just mentor my daughter? And I'm like, yes, I would love to. But if I don't help you and she comes home and you're talking at dinner about how you need to do XYZ to lose weight, she's going to pick up on that. And what I said just goes out the window because you're more important than me. And so I decided in my business that on one side is for women, we are going to shift how we feel about ourselves and our bodies and how we approach health and wellness. So that way we're a great role model for girls of how and what they can be doing no matter what their age is to take care of themselves and listen to their body like you were talking about before. And then the other side of that is I do have a pretty powerful girl empowerment program where we host live events and quarterly empowerment boxes. And so much of like what you talk about, of just tuning into your body, taking those breaths, how to, work through some of those struggles that we all have in life. And so just helping girls use those tools the same that I wish that I would have learned when I was little.
Yeah. Oh, I can relate to so much of that too, because for me, I was kind of on the opposite spectrum. So I was the skinny girl. And I mean, my family is all thinner. That's just how we are. But I would get called skinny in a way that was derogatory. That was, when I just remember thinking, like, well, if I called you fat, I would get in trouble. But
Mhm.
you can sit here and call me skinny in like a mean way. It wasn't like oh, it was just so growing up that way. I always remember wanting to weigh more. Like I remember wanting to just not have this where everybody is constantly telling me I'm too skinny, I need to eat, or I'm not doing enough, or making me feel that I even went to a doctor once who basically made me feel like I had an eating disorder. And I've never had an eating disorder. I just have always been thinner. That's just who I have been. And so it's really hard when you are on this side, like that side too, where it's like, but all overarching. It's not just whether you're skinny, whether are a little heavier, like all of us, like we all deserve to be talked to and with your mom, like what you were saying too, because I mean, I relate to that as well. Like my mom, she's gorgeous, but she would always talk about herself. And I don't think she even knew she was doing it.
Mhm.
Or maybe she did, and she didn't realize the impact that it would have on her daughters growing up. But yeah, there was this constant, of like second guessing, or you had to look perfect. I think that perfectionism really for me came in because of seeing what my mom struggled with, even though, and maybe she did struggle with some of the things that I did. I don't know. We've never talked about it, but it just is so interesting, yeah, to think about. So,
Yeah, I think it's one of those things, that most of our parents did the best that they could, right? Like many of our moms were just doing what their moms did and what their moms did. And, and also with the social pressure, I always tell people, beauty standards, that's a social construct, meaning that we have completely made it up. There's no such
yeah.
thing as quote unquote beauty. What's beautiful here today, right now, is not considered beautiful in another country. What was considered beautiful 30 years ago is not considered beautiful now. And what we are doing now to our bodies and our faces and everything in 30 years, people are going to look back and be like, well, what? It was happening, right? Because beauty changes. And the beauty industry is, $556 billion industry
Yeah.
that profits from telling us there are things that we should change and do to be prettier. And
Mhm.
so it's not, I have clients all the time that say, what's wrong with me? Why can't I just love my body? And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with you. It is literally not your fault that you have these feelings. But when we get equipped with understanding and evaluating where those thoughts came from and how they make us feel, then we're able then to try to shift our thoughts as much as possible to appreciate our bodies a bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love how you said that too, because I remember seeing once, and I don't remember if it was China or Japan or somewhere where they really pride themselves on having like a white complexion, like a real pale face.
Mhm.
And I just remember seeing that and thinking, well, that's bizarre because in our culture, it's tan skin. Like,
Yeah.
and tanning beds. I mean, I remember in high school, there was a couple girls who would tan in high school. We were maybe allowed to if before we went on a trip so we wouldn't burn.
Yeah.
But I just remember there was this one specific girl too. She would tan all the time. She was always so dark, but that's what our society deemed as pretty or beautiful. And so it is really interesting how it is different in all the different places. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
It really is. And again, it just when you really think about that, you're like, yeah, why do I want to go tanning? Or why am I doing this to my eyebrows? Or why? And I'm not, I wear the makeup and I do the hair and do all the things. So I'm not like anti all of that. But when I do it, I am very, I am thinking to myself that like I don't have to do this to be beautiful. I enjoy it. Like this process makes me feel good. I enjoy this, but also being aware that the reason why I do my makeup like this is because somebody else told me that this is how it's supposed to be done,
Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
being aware of that, I think is just powerful for
Mhm.
us.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I know you got into a lot of things and you probably may have already answered this a little bit, but what do you feel is your sole purpose here on earth at this time? And I know it can change. Like it can change from, when you were in, and I didn't even ask you if you're still working as sociology, I think you said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm no longer teaching at the university. No.
Yeah. All right. So what do you think is your sole purpose right now?
So my sole purpose is to help women and girls live a life they love and a body that they appreciate.
Mm,
Um, I want my purpose is to help you think about your body less so you can live more.
mm, yeah, that's good.
There's there's a study that was done that said that the average woman thinks about her body 12.5 hours a week.
Whew.
And I just was 12.5 hour. You say that you don't have time to do things.
Mm,
Now we just found
mm,
out why.
yeah.
Even if that study was complete bogus, right? Let's say it's only 5 hours. If you spend 5 hours a week just thinking about your body, how to change your body, how to make it better, how to make it different, what are you not spending those 5 hours on?
Mm, yeah.
5 hours not being present with your family, 5 hours not pursuing your sole purpose, 5 hours, not doing things that bring you joy because you're stuck and trapped just thinking about your body. And, there, this is I'm kind of a and person, like I can feel this way and this way at the same time. Uh, for, there's a, there's great benefit to the body positive movement. There's great benefit to seeing bodies that look like mine that are quote unquote normal bodies. However, what we're finding is that it's really popular, at least I see it because that's what my feed is full of. On social media, for example, women showing, here are my belly rolls. Like if you have rolls, me too. And here's my cellulite. So like if you have cellulite, you're normal like me too. And that's great because we're trying to say, hey, this is a normal body. But at the same time, what's happening is all you're making me do is think about my cellulite. All
Mm,
you're making me do is think about my rolls. So I'm still, and I keep saying the word trapped because that's kind of how I envision it. I'm still trapped thinking about my body, whether I'm trying to think about it in a good way or I'm trying to think about it in a bad way. I'm still just thinking about my body. But yet at the same time, we have this fun quote that your body's the least interesting thing about you, right? But if that's true, then we have to think about it less because other things are more important.
mm,
And so that's my sole purpose, is to hopefully ingrain that into, again, my own brain because I'm a human living in this world. So I keep repeating this to myself and also other women. So again, we can be those great examples to like the next generation of, we don't have to talk about our bodies when we're eating dinner. We don't have to make a comment about somebody else's body. That's not our place, right? And so just trying to be an advocate for that. Yeah.
I love that. And it was interesting what you said too, because, or it made me think of this when we are so focused on our body or we're thinking about it constantly, like our thoughts create our reality. And
Mm.
so if we're constantly thinking about that, it's almost like having to rewire your brain. So we start thinking about different things, or when those thoughts, those intrusive thoughts come in, it's like, no, stop, let's flip it, let's think of something positive, even if it is trying to think positively about your body, just rewiring so that it's like, okay, let's work on how we speak to ourselves. Because we did this really amazing exercise when I was at a spiritual business conference a couple months back, and one of the opening things she did was have us write down all the things that we like, the negative, that inner mean girl inside of ourselves, write all those negative thoughts down. Such a powerful exercise. So once we wrote them all down, then it was kind of like, okay, we were thinking we weren't going to have to do anything with this, or this was just going to get thrown away, or whatever it was. Now it's turn to the person next to you and read your list as
Mm.
it's to them.
Oh,
And let me tell you, I don't know if there was a dry eye in that place.
I can only imagine.
Because imagine reading all of your dark thoughts that you think about yourself and all these negative things that you think about yourself, and now that would be me reading it to you, like, you are not worthy, you don't look what XYZ, you don't, like, that's how we had to read it to that person. And let me tell you, that was a huge shift for me. Like, wow, how I am speaking, I would never speak that way to somebody else, never. So why do I speak like that to myself? Like, whew, it was just powerful. So yeah.
That sounds amazing. A
Yeah.
lot intense, but
Yes.
what a powerful, like I can see that happening and that's really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because we talk to ourselves so negatively sometimes, and it's,
Yeah.
yeah. So how did you get from being a teacher, sociology? I
Uh-huh.
keep forgetting. Okay,
Yeah.
sociology. So sociology, how did you get from being a sociology teacher? Or let's even go back even further. What made you decide to be a sociology teacher? Let's start there.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so it really happened when I was a senior in high school. Going into senior year, they decided to open an elective called sociology. And I was like, I don't know what that is. I'm just trying to hurry up and graduate. But I read the description and it's like, we're going to talk about race and we're going to talk about different religions and we're going to talk about gender and we're going to talk about like all these things. And I was like, oh, that sounds like the coolest thing I've ever heard. And of course, all my friends are like, I would never take that class. Like, that sounds so boring. And I'm like so excited. And I had a friend actually, now she tells the story about how she cheated off of me in that class because she was just zoned out, not interested. She also had a lot of life stuff going on. But like, that was my class. If you wanted to cheat off of me in any class, it was going to be that class. So I took that class. And again, that's where a lot of I really started thinking for myself.
Mhm.
And that was really hard for my parents, for my larger family, for everybody who was around me, because now I wanted to question why you thought the way that you did. I remember we learned about different religions, and up until that point, I was just whatever belief, right, that I was told from the time I was born, like, this is what we believe, we're right, everybody else is wrong, and you just believe this way just because. So just
Yeah.
don't ask questions. So that's what I did until I took this class and I started learning about other religions. And I was like, that makes a lot of sense. That's really cool that they do that. I wasn't saying I'm going to shift and completely, change lanes, but I went home and I was having these conversations and so many people in my life were like, we are not doing that. Um, so I got intrigued by that. So then I went to college, but because sociologists don't make a lot of money, and because I was going to college to make money, apparently, I decided that I was going to go into law because, again, everyone told me I like to argue, but really I just like to ask questions. So I was in pre-law, doing all the things, and then I changed my major 6 different times because once I started realizing what lawyers actually do, I was like, I don't think that's for me. But I didn't know what was for me because I didn't want to be a doctor. I didn't want to be a teacher, in the traditional sense. Like, I didn't want to be any of that. So I was really confused. But all I kept doing was taking these sociology classes. And eventually I was like, if I want to take any more sociology classes, I have to major in it. Otherwise, like, I'm going to get cut off. So that's when I was finally like, okay, I'm just going to suck it up. My parents will just have to deal with it. And I'll have to figure out how to get a job eventually. But this is my passion and this is what I love learning about. So that's what I'm going to do. So started doing all that, graduated, went to grad school, and actually I applied to 10 PhD programs and I was declined by all of them, all 9, for my GRE scores because I apparently am not a great test taker. So, but my GPA was a 4.0, but they didn't care about that. They wanted a good test score. So I got declined by all of those, crying in my bed. What am I going to do with my life? And I got accepted by one. That was the University of South Carolina. I was going to go. I had this whole plan. Oops, sorry. I had this whole plan of going, getting my PhD. And then they told me, well, we cannot offer funding. So this is how much it's going to be for these years. And I don't come from money. I don't really come from a whole lot. So I was like, I can't, there's no way I would be able to do that. So I had to shift everything. I was devastated. I went back to get my master's at the same university I went to for undergrad. And I like to tell that story for a couple reasons. Number one, to be like, hey, many of us get declined and told no so many times. And like, it sucks. And what are we going to do about it? And also because of that, I actually ended up staying at the same university, and my now husband ended up going to law school at the same university. So we met. So then that's where I'm always like, if I would have gone to South Carolina, you wouldn't have met me and your life would not be as happy right now. So, I think it's a funny life thing that, all these things shift and change. But so after I finished with my master's, I decided I moved back home until I figured out life and got jobs. I started working at a domestic violence shelter part-time, and then the other part I was teaching at a community college. And so that's how I ended up there. I I was upset. Like, I love it. I still randomly look for jobs to teach at a college because it's just so powerful. Like this podcast, when you open your eyes to so many different things. So when just standing in front of a room, like with adults, many of them have already graduated high school, or some of them are 40, 50 years old coming back to college. And I would just stand in front of this room and talk about things that are normal, second nature to me. Like, duh, of course, this is how we have racial issues. Of course, this is why we have, all these gender issues. Of course. And so to me, it was just, of course, like, this is just my thing. But then when you see people's eyes light up and they're like, oh, I cannot believe, that is why I think this way, or why we treat these people this way, or why we do this. And it was just so powerful, because for me, that's how, why now I've taken my sociology degree to where I am now, is because when I was sitting in a college class, we watched a documentary. It felt like it was like 100 years old at that point. So now it probably feels like it's 200 years old, but it's called Killing Us Softly. And in this documentary, she shows how people, kids, women, men are portrayed in marketing, and how marketers do different things with a woman's body, how they situate us based on race and size and all these things, and how they use that to sell products. And it's this long documentary showing all of this. And at the end, that's when it hit me. And I remember looking around the room, and of course, I shouldn't say of course, but many of the men were like, okay, cool, done with class, we're leaving. And I feel like the women, we just kind of sat there for a moment. We needed a moment to be like, this is why. For me, like I said, I wouldn't wear shorts. I spent all my high school graduation money on a procedure to get rid of cellulite. I did all these things to try to look a certain way. And now here's this documentary saying, you're looking at all these magazines, you're looking at all these TV things, right? And now we have social media. You're seeing all of this stuff about what a woman's body should be, how it should look, how it should be treated. No wonder you struggle with that. And so that was that moment for me. So just being able to share that with other people is like just something I really enjoy doing.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's great. And so how did you get from sociology teacher now to where you are? I mean, was it that, I mean, that documentary though was
Yeah.
while you were still sociology teacher, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
that was when I
before.
was in college, before
In
I even
college.
became
Yeah,
a
before.
teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny, like I said at the beginning, just the random weird things that I did. I was in a sorority when I was in college, and I was the one who would I would create these PDFs and print them out that had all these statistics about like, eating disorders, and if you look like Barbie, how you wouldn't be able to menstruate, and like all these facts, because I'm a nerd. And so I would take those. And again, there's a lot of eating disorders among campus and all of that. And so, especially in you know, in a sorority environment, it can be heightened. And so, again, I saw my friends struggling with that. So, again, I was like, what do I do about this? We have to talk about it. And nobody wants to talk about it. So, I was like, I'm going to create all these things and I'm going to put it in the bathroom stall. So, you have to see this when you go to the bathroom. Did that work? I don't know. But, it's just those funny things that I was doing. But at the same time, I was still struggling with my body image. I was still struggling with how do I take care of myself? People say the freshman 15, I gained the freshman 40. And I was just miserable. I would go to sleep crying, watching The Biggest Loser while eating French fries, and being like, why can't I lose weight? And doing all these things. And so at the same time, I'm trying to help other people, I'm struggling myself. And I couldn't comprehend that. And then it was after I taught at community college, and then I didn't have to, I got to move to be with my now husband to a different city. And so I didn't teach at the university, but I worked at the Ohio State University here. And while I was there, I went on my own fitness, health, weight loss journey. And I did it a little different than normal, but I was still focused on the goal of losing weight. Like, I have to lose weight. And I know how to do that is you eat less and you work out more. Like, that's just what you do. So that's what I did. And then as I kept going on that journey, I started realizing that every time I would finish like a workout program or I would finish a meal plan, I would start to gain weight back. And I'm like, this doesn't make sense. This isn't working. And so I decided I don't even honestly remember like the moment that it happened. I don't know if it was a moment. It might have just been like a leading up to where finally I was like, I am no longer going to focus on weight. I am not, I can't control what the scale says, right? Like I cannot control what that number does. But what I can control what I eat. I can control my mindset. I can control my movement. And I am going to commit myself to doing those things from a loving place, not a place of you need to change yourself. And so I've created like all these different tools and things because so many of us, right? Why do people, if you ask 20 people on the street right now, why do you work out? Why are you going to work out today? Many of them are going to say, so I stay in shape, right? Very few are going to say, so I live a longer, healthier life. So I help my heart beat better. So I help my legs move better. Right. And so I just decided that I wasn't going to be that person now that only worked out to lose weight, only ate healthy veggies to lose weight. It was going to be, I'm going to understand my body. What does my body need to feel good? Right. Like, how many veggies does it need to where it's like, woo, we love you. Thank you for that. How much exercise and what type of exercise makes my body feel good? What are the things that, you know, if we're talking about body, right? Our mind, what do I need to put into my mind to make me feel good? And so I kind of shifted, I took everything from sociology, right? Of here's what society is doing and why I feel and think the way that I think. Now I'm in the health and fitness space where again, trainers, nutrition, all of us are taught like you're going to do this because people want to lose weight. How do you make money in health and fitness? You help people lose weight. You show the before and after, right? And eventually I realized that's unhealthy for me and for women to show so many before and afters, to focus on the weight loss. And so I was like, I can't do that anymore. I don't care if I make 2 cents, but I am not going to show any more before and afters. I am not going to say you need to work out to lose weight. I'm not going to help you lose weight. I will help you take control of your health. And if the side effect is weight loss, because that's what your body actually needs to do, then your body will do that. And that's where we're going to focus. So for me now, it's all shifted from let's take the sociology mindset, let's put it with health and wellness, but let's do it in a way that is actually healthy for us mentally and physically.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. There's so many good points in there. And it's interesting too because the health and wellness, like you're talking about, there's so much money to be had in that space. And I think that's the sad part is that people will focus on that. There's even a wellness place by me, and I do breath work, and it's not something that people are super familiar with. And so it is like a slow growing business for me. But so she just kept saying, well, if you try to focus on, this piece, because people are really looking for, to lose weight and to all this stuff. And I'm like, but that's just not me. Like my background is in nursing, my background, like, so I do have this background where I can speak to it, and
Yeah.
I know what I'm talking about, but I also don't want to be in that space. I want to be in this deeper healing space where we're really healing from a deep level, not just this surface, like you said, a quick fix diet or whatever, take a pill to lose weight or whatever that is. It's almost like this, like you're doing it for the long term. This is going to be your life. It is not let's just do this diet. Let's just do this for, 3 weeks. Like, no, this is a commitment to our lifestyle, a lifestyle change. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
This is a lifestyle commitment change. And that can be really hard because sometimes people are like, oh my gosh, forever. Like I can never have that. And it's like, you don't want to get to the point where you're restricting yourself and, and all of that. But just knowing that the little changes that you make, if you just think of it as your lifestyle, like this is just how I'm going to do life because I know it's healthier for me. There's so much benefit in that, so much power in that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and again, I am a big proponent of you should do what's best for your body. Your
Yeah.
body's your body, it's none of my business. So if you believe that your best option is a pill, a shot, a surgery, make that decision for yourself. What I hope though is that you will take even more time and really think about what is the purpose here, right? Like, is the purpose actually to be healthy? Because those are being healthy and being skinny or being smaller are
Mhm.
not the same thing.
Right.
right? Like you even shared before, I am in a skin, like I'm in a smaller body. Like this is how I was born. This is who I am. Doesn't mean that you're healthy. I have a friend who is very small who in college, she would eat Wendy's 2 times a day. And I'd be like, how? Like if I eat Wendy's one time, my face blows up, but like, that's just her body just processed that food. And that's just how she was born that way. I was born this way. And so I get to figure out what's good for my body and she gets to figure out what's good for her body. But yeah, we get to figure out like what's healthy. And I'm big about, I'm not here to shame if like the quick fix is like the thing for you. But I do hope that you'll get in, I can maybe get in your mind a little bit. And if you choose to do a quick fix at the same time, maybe we can add in some more veggies. We can do some more movement, right? Like how can we just like marry them so you actually can live like a healthy, happy life? That's the goal.
Yeah. And learning to love the body that you're in. I think that's the huge thing. It's really to learn to love yourself for who you are and the compare, like letting go of the comparison. I think it is a thief of joy. It like steals our joy. It steals our life. Like just learning to love yourself, I think is just so, so huge. Yeah. And I
Yeah,
love
I
that
think
yeah, go ahead.
no, I just like you said, it comes back to just knowing who you are.
Yeah.
When we think a lot about, I work with young girls and the trend, I think you even mentioned the word earlier, like mean girl. I try to remove that from my vocabulary and from their vocabulary because if we want girls to be kind, we have to stop telling them that they're mean. Um, and so but we have that conversation, right? Like people are mean. There are going to be mean people in your life. So the most important thing that we can do is be like stand in our power. So I have this little activity that they do, right? Like literally standing on your values, your purpose, your priorities, things that make you you, that make you unique. So that way, when someone comes and tries to push you over with the words that they say or the posts they make on social media, right? If your foot starts to come off of that, you're going to lean, you're going to wobble. We have to stand firm in all of who we are. And that's how we can, you know, care. I don't want to say don't care what other people think, because I think it's important to care what other people think, but not let other people's thoughts and opinions about who you are change who you are.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's the most important thing that we can do.
Yeah. And a caveat on that, like you really shouldn't care what people think unless if people are like your people that are pouring into your life, like your spouse or your children or something. But even then, it's like you are your ultimate,
Yeah.
I don't know, your best, like this, I don't want to say decision maker because I don't know if that's the right word that I'm looking for here, but like you know what's best for you. So listening to yourself is the best because otherwise you are giving your power away. And I think I talked about this before. Like when you're constantly looking for everybody else's opinions or making sure that they're okay with what you're doing. And it's like, no, truly, you are that decider. This is your life. It is not theirs. And while, yes, maybe you want to know what your spouse thinks or what your children think or your parents think or whatever, ultimately they are not living your life. They're not making your decisions. They're not going to bed with you at night. Like you are your own person. You have to make those decisions for yourself and the ones that are best for you. And so I love that you talk about that. Like there could be what works for me might not work for you. What works for you
Yeah.
might not work for me. And so everybody is different. There is no one. And that was like part of the reason why I left like the traditional Western medicine model too, is because, everybody was just given like, let's just, everybody takes the same pill, everybody takes the same thing. You come in for an earache, we're going to give you this. You come in for, we don't really try to focus on like the root cause. We're just so into this quick fix. Here, this worked for this person. You should take it, but it's like, no, really listening and leaning into your body. What does your body need and how does your body want? I think that's a huge thing too, is like while you're going through this process and how you're helping women and girls, it's like allowing them to lean into themselves. I think that's been one of the biggest things for myself is truly letting go. Like, yes, having a mentor is beautiful and amazing and having coaches and all of that. But then taking all that knowledge and putting it through your own filter. Like, how do I want to take this? How do I want to show up? Where do I want to go with it? Because we are ultimately the best. We know our body the best out of
Mhm.
anybody else. I think that's the biggest point I wanted to make there.
No, I think that is so on point, so good but again, it's one of those things, right? Where we're like, listen to your body. what does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
and that's where, like you said, like a mentor or someone that can step in and be like, okay, does your body feel this way? Like, is it making this noise? Is it doing this? How do you feel? How's your sleep? How's this? To like figure, like to help you
Yeah.
actually listen to your body, because, like you do at the very beginning of every episode with the breath work, we don't take a second to be like, what is this doing to my body? And for me, I I always say that. Listen to your body, listen to your body. And yet here I am. I've struggled my whole life with headaches and migraines. And I just accepted it because my mom does too. And we just always popped Excedrin migraine. So I was like, this is just the way that it is. Like, this is just how my body is. And, then I have my husband now who's like, that's not normal. Stop taking medicine. You got to figure out what's wrong. And I'm like, no, this is just how it is. Mind your business. You don't experience headaches. You don't know what this feels like. Like, mind your business. And then I would go to doctors, right? And traditional medicine. And I'd say, listen, I have headaches. And they'd say, okay, great. I had one that said, stop using caffeine for 30 days and see what happens. And I said, no, thank you. That was not the answer I wanted. I wanted you to say, we're going to do a CAT scan, or we're going to do these different tests, and we're going to tell you that you either have a tumor or you have something dramatic, and that's why you've experienced all of this. But they wouldn't tell me that. They're like, try all these different things first. And again, here I am, a nutrition coach, fitness, wellness, all this stuff. And I'm like, no, I don't want to try those things because nobody wants to give up caffeine. And just recently, I've had some health concerns that put me on some medication that required me to completely, they said limit slash get rid of completely caffeine. And so for the first 5 days, I was in bed. I couldn't move, right? Because I had such a terrible migraine. I didn't think I was going to survive, but I survived. And then after a couple of days, I was like, I'm not experiencing headaches every day. So in the past like 3 months, I've only taken medication 2 times in the past 3 months for a headache. Otherwise, I haven't. And so I've just made the decision now, because now my body's like, hello, was the issue the whole time, but you didn't realize that. You wouldn't listen to anybody. But now that you've experienced it, right? It's one of those things. Once we experience something, once we realize, hey, my body's not supposed to feel that way. My body's supposed to feel good like this. I'm not supposed to wake up in the morning groggy. I'm not supposed to wake up in the morning with a headache and feeling defeated and stressed and all the things. That's not the way that my life is supposed to be lived. And now that I've experienced that, now I'm like, yeah, keep the caffeine. I don't want your coffee. I don't want your pop. I don't want all of that. So I say under 50 milligrams. But again, it's only because, someone did try to help me, but a long time ago, but I was stubborn. I didn't want that answer.
Yeah.
But now listening to my body, it's like, wow, it can feel really good. And so, it's just important. Sometimes we have to just do it, like, experience it. No matter what people tell us, we have to hit that quote unquote rock bottom and then figure out how to do it. But, if we did just take a second to be like, hey, maybe I should try these different things to feel better, we would feel better.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that goes along with that quick fix. I
Yes.
think we're so in our society, because that's what we've learned.
Yeah.
We've learned that you go to the doctor, you take a pill, it'll make you feel better. Or the second you have a headache, you pop some pills like you were talking about, or the second something happens. And so we want it to be fixed right now.
Yeah.
And so if it's a solution that we're giving people, that might take a little bit longer, with breath work too, it's doing it repetitively, or coaching or whatever. It's getting into the mindset, it's getting into the body work, it's getting into, but it's going to take a little bit of time. Where yes, you could go to the doctor, maybe get a pill, but that's just going to be a band-aid over what's actually really going on in your body, maybe in your life, maybe in your mind. And so really just hitting home this fact that, like, yes, we were brought up in this place where the quick fixes are the go-to, but I think I think it's gonna shift. I already feel the shift. I feel the shift in people waking up to what is truly good for their body, people waking up to eating better, people waking up to maybe not just taking a pill for a quick fix, being like, okay, well, how can I really truly help my body long term? I think that's going to be our next trend, which
Yeah.
at least I hope so,
Yeah.
because
Same.
it is so important, and it's long term. Then it's not just this quick fix, but which is hard too, because it's like the big medical model and the pharmacy, like all of that. We could go on and on and on about that.
Mhm.
Like they're here to make money. And
Yep.
so, if we start going this direction of really truly helping and healing our body, who knows? Who knows where that will go? That's a
We
whole
could
nother
put we could put them out of business, right? I say the same thing about, the beauty industry. If we all woke up tomorrow and we're like, you know what, I don't need makeup to be beautiful. I'm beautiful exactly the way that I am. You know how many companies would go under? Billions of dollars would be lost, stores would be closed. Like our society functions right now the way that it does because of our beliefs, our the choices that we're encouraged to make. So yeah, if we all woke up tomorrow and decided, we're doing things completely different, a lot of things would change. And again, it probably isn't going to be an overnight thing, but I hope that you're right. I hope that down the road we see more of that and things just transition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So I know you talked about, and we briefly mentioned this before we started recording, but your 75-day healthy mission. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So again, as a fitness nutrition coach, I had many women coming to me, and the thing that they always repeated was, "What's wrong with me? Why can't I do this? Why can't I?" Right? Many of them wanted to lose weight, so why can't I? What's wrong with me? How come Susie Q can go to the gym every day and work out and get super fit and love eating veggies, and I can't? And then we get into all the nitty gritty. What have you tried? What worked? What didn't work? What made you feel good? What made you feel like crap? When did you sleep best? Like all those things. And so many times it would come out, they would say, I tried 75-day hard and I couldn't do it.
Mhm.
And that's what's wrong with me. I have so many friends that are doing it and they're accomplishing it and they're doing it and I can't. And I started asking questions because I wasn't really familiar with the whole program. And so they would tell me, here's what I have to do every single day for 75 days. I have to take a picture of myself, which I'm like, well, if you struggle with body image issues, I don't think that I would encourage that, but okay. So take a picture of yourself. You have to, what is it, 2 times a day? You have to work out 2 times a day for 45 minutes. And I know you mentioned you've done this, so you know the drill, right? You work out 2 times a day for 45 minutes. So now we're at an hour and a half of our day is working out. And one of them has to be outside, right? Regardless if it's sleeting, it's 0-degree temperature, you have to go outside. I love outside, but I ain't working out outside when it's negative 10 degrees in Ohio with snow. But there's that, right? And so it was all of these things. You have to follow a diet, right? You have to do these certain things. And if you miss one thing on one day, you start back from the beginning. Now, I don't know about you, but I struggle with perfectionism. And I don't think that this is set up to help someone who has perfectionist tendencies, right? If I make it to day 71 and I have been quote unquote perfect up until day 71, day 71, I get the flu and I'm like, I cannot get off the couch. Now I have to start back at day one because I missed one day. That's not, in my mind, for me, that's not a lifestyle change. That's again kind of a quick fix. You do this for 70 days, you go intense. There is no way you can tell me. I'm sure there's 3 people in the world, but I doubt that there's very many people that do those same exact things for the rest of their life, right? Working out 2 times a day, taking the picture, doing the things, that would be so, following a diet, like that would be so hard to do for your entire life. It probably actually isn't healthy for you to do your whole life. So when I started hearing that, and I'm getting women that are like, I just want to be healthy. I want to feel better. I want to do this, but I don't have an hour and a half a day to work out. I don't, right? And so I was like, okay, there has to be a better way because that's not healthy. That's hard. It's supposed to be hard. So they set their mission, right? And people accomplish it, and that's great. So that's hard. How do we do healthy? And if you're just getting started, I said, if you moved your body 15 minutes, if you for the past year, you haven't worked out one time, today, if you go take a walk for 15 minutes, which I'm about to do when I get off this podcast, I'm going to go take a walk, right? And if all I do today is walk for 15 minutes, when in the past I haven't been able to work out at all, that's a win. That's worth celebrating. My body is going to appreciate that. If I can start eating healthier, right? So 75-day healthy, I took some of the same ideas from hard and said, how do we make them healthy? So in 75-day healthy, again, it's a book. I have daily motivations in there and checklists and all the things. But the checklist is you're going to drink water, right? Water is so important. So here's the amount of water. Let's start smaller than hard, with less, not smaller, but we start there. You do a 15-minute workout. What are you putting into your brain? We're going to do some personal development each day. We're going to, instead of saying a diet, we're going to say, can you eat 3 servings of protein? Can you eat 2 servings of veggies? And can you eat one piece of fruit? Right? So like the small steps. Many of my clients come to me and they're like, I haven't touched a veggie in months. And so I'm like, okay, great. You're going to eat 2 a day. That's it. I don't need it dramatic, just 2. So we start really small like that. And the most important thing is we don't start over. You're going to go, if on day 3 you missed your workout or you didn't eat a veggie, it's okay. You got tomorrow. Tomorrow we start again and we do the same thing. Because it used to be too, when I would coach with fitness, I would say we would have our calendar. Here's what your workouts are. And if someone missed their workout, the next day they would do 2 workouts. And I'm like, that actually doesn't help. That's not helping your body. That's not really like the mission. So like, don't worry about it. It was just one day missed. Move on. We're creating a lifestyle here where we're actually appreciating our bodies, listening to our bodies, and doing healthy habits that can be built on over time. If after 75 days and I have like an upgrade, if you're ready to go to the next level, like here, let's try eating 3 veggies a day. Let's eat 4 servings of protein a day. Let's do this. And so it's just a way to just take those habits, make them very simple and doable to where we can celebrate ourselves. And at the end of 75 days, if you've done all those things where before you were hardly doing much at all, that's a huge win. That's health.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's like sustainable change
yeah.
instead of just a quick fix. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I guess 75 isn't a quick thing because
that's long.
Yeah, it's a lot of months.
Yeah, but my favorite part of it though is I always tell people, I am never going to tell you to do something that your daughter or your kids can't do with you. It's really important to me that we're an example of what health is. So I personally wouldn't tell my kid that they need to go work out 2 times a day for 45 minutes each. But I would say we need to move our bodies for 15 minutes a day because our bodies deserve that. And I wouldn't tell my kids you had to follow a diet. I would tell my kids we need to eat more green stuff. We need to eat more of this protein stuff, right? Because our bodies, this is how our bodies work and this is how we fuel them. And so it's really important to me, and it's really cool to see because so many people that have gotten the book, they started doing it. Like one woman, her mom saw her book and they were like, what is that? And she started telling her about it. She's like, I think I can do that. And so it's just like this joy to me when I hear like, people that are very old or people that are like, my daughter started doing this workout with me and we're moving 15 minutes. It's just like, that's the ripple effect. That's the goal, is that we're creating these healthy habits that can be sustained, like you said, long term. So it just feels really good.
I love that.
Yeah.
So do you do everything online or do you meet people in person, or how do you do stuff?
Yeah, so I do have a couple of events throughout the year that are in person, but most of my like health, wellness, body image coaching is all virtual, and a lot of women like the texting option. So I do a lot of coaching through text instead of always on a call because that can be hard. But yeah, so it's fun, and a lot of our girl events obviously are more local and in person too. So.
So when you say girl, what are the ages that you coach, that you help and stuff?
Yeah, so it ranges. Our program that is our quarterly subscription box. It's like a virtual program with mentorship in the boxes. Those are for girls 5 to, we typically say about 14, because after that you're probably, a little too mature for that. And then our in-person events, typically they kind of shift based on the vibe. But normally between 7 to 13, 14 is normally where we're looking at. And most of our events for girls, not all of them, but many of them are with mom. Again, because that's my whole passion, is how can we do this together and keep that communication and be that space. So we do a lot of things similar to like what you were sharing before, writing things, getting, sharing what we struggle with, what we love about ourselves, what we love about each other, and things like that. And so we have one event, it's called the Self-Love Soiree. So it's for moms and girls. And there's always tears and like all those fun things, because again, it's that, we're talking about a lot of the hard stuff, but then it also leads to so much of the good stuff. So
I love
Yeah.
that. And so do you coach and help women also or just girls?
No, I do coach with women. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, there was a part back when you were talking about, I think it was when you were talking about going to, I don't know, maybe it was your high school when you first took your first sociology class.
Mhm.
And then you started questioning things like how you were raised, how you were brought up, and things like that. And that is one of my, I mean, I didn't question until I was a lot older, but that part really interested me. So, what is your background in? And when you started questioning and things, like, how did that, like, I love to ask the question also, so you can answer however you'd like to with all of my questions, but I love to ask like how maybe you were raised and then how maybe life has changed and how you're living now, like what life looks like now as opposed to maybe how you were brought up and told you had to be, had to look, had to dress, had to, all of those things. So,
Oh yeah, that's a
yeah.
lot. I think about it. I didn't experience, I've listened to a lot of your episodes, which are wonderful. And I didn't experience a lot of like the big trauma that, I always said, I don't have trauma because like I've never experienced that. So like I can't relate to that. But what I realize now after doing a lot of work is realizing that my trauma is really that I was always praised and celebrated because I was perfect. I would go to friends' birthday parties and I was always the one that would help clean up. And, I was with the parents, like doing all the things. And, I didn't want to get in trouble. So I'm such a rule follower that I didn't, I did the things. And so they would always tell my parents, Danielle's just perfect. She's just great. She's so helpful. And, my parents, of course, that's what parents want to hear. So like, they would celebrate that and be happy with that. And so I always felt like, and it wasn't their fault. They did a great job. I'm happy with who I am, but I have had that I'm going to be perfect
Yeah.
mentality with just about everything. And so for me though, it was that part. It was also, like I mentioned, like the religious part of, questioning why do I think this way? And then being okay with realizing it's just because I was born into this culture. Like if I was born in a different country at a different time, I probably would have a different religion. And so for me, it's just, I still to this day am just open. I'm a very open person. My mission is to be happy.
Mm,
That's it.
yeah.
And so, same with my husband, what you're supposed to do, right? I was supposed to go to college. I was supposed to graduate. I was supposed to meet a nice boy and spend a year dating, get engaged, get married, have babies.
Yeah.
Well, I went to college. I graduated, got a job, lived with my boyfriend for 13 years, very happily. And then we said, let's get married. So we got engaged, then we got married. I'm 37, going on 38. I do not have children yet. So that whole process, though, for 13 years, you can imagine the people that are like, when are you guys going to get married? Are you going to get married? Are you guys happy? Is everything okay? Right? Because if you're not getting married, something's wrong. Because if you're happy in a relationship, you should get married.
Yeah.
And for me though, I would wake up every day and I would just ask, am I happy? And the answer was always yes. So I was like, again, but I started battling with that too, because I'm like, should I force him? And then I had someone, we moved to the complete opposite side of the country, and she was like, I wouldn't move with him unless he proposed. And I was like, oh, okay. Let me think about that. So I thought about that and I was like, why does that matter? Like that might matter to you and that's okay. But like for me, like a ring on my finger wasn't going to change anything. Like it didn't matter to me. And
Mhm.
so we just all like I had a different belief around like marriage and what that had to look like or should look like. And so with that, I was just happy with like religion or my beliefs. I want to be a really good human. I want to make a positive impact on the world. I want, to make other people feel good. I want to support and help as many people as I can live a great life. And so it doesn't necessarily look like quote unquote religion to me.
Mhm.
Um, it's just different. But again, I'm still, because of who I am and like my mind, I love learning. So like I am so open to hearing all those things. So yeah, so it's kind of, and now again, I battle with those things in my head of, you don't have to be perfect, Danielle. You can do things different. Like it doesn't have to be that way. And again, just always coming back to that. Is this important to me? Like, why does this matter? So I do that with like on an almost daily basis, really, when I'm starting to think about, oh, should I color? I have a lot of grays now. And I'm like, should I color my grays? And then I'm like, I don't really want to because I don't want to keep up with it. But should, like, I'm supposed to because they're not really pretty, but like, I don't know. And so then I go on that thing of who said, is this important to me? Right? And will this make me happy? And I ask myself those questions to help make those decisions, like we've said throughout this whole podcast, is make sure those decisions are mine and they're not because other people are telling me that they like that's what I should do. So I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah. No, I love that though, because it is like that societal expectation of getting married, especially living with somebody without getting married. Like, yes, that's a huge thing. And then also having kids. And I do feel bad because I have a few people, we have a few friends who just don't want to have kids, and that's okay. But for some reason, people constantly go to, well, why not? What's wrong? Are things not okay in your relationship that you feel like you can't have kids with this person? Or like, there's just so many things. And it's like, well, sometimes people just don't want to have kids, and
Yeah.
that's okay too, you know? But it's that societal expectation that it has to look a certain way. So that's something that I'm trying to help eliminate, just even in ourselves, just letting go of this conditioning that it has to look a certain way and we have to perform. It is a performance, actually, if you think about it. If we are just doing things to appease everybody else, we're literally just putting on a performance. And
Yeah.
now that I look back at my life, I was putting on a performance for a very long time because I also struggled with the same perfectionisms. I was the good girl and I got praised a lot for being the good girl. Like, oh, you've done such a good job. And so then that's what you strive for then, because that's when your parents give you praise. That's when other people give you praise. So you're like, okay, now you just get in your head, like, I have to be perfect because that's what gets me praise. That's how people recognize me. And so seeing that into adulthood, it's like, okay, that's why I spend 20 hours on one, page of a something when it literally could have been done in 10 minutes because my perfectionism sometimes kicks in so much, like it has to be perfect. That's how I'm going to get praise. That's how they're going to love me. And so it's letting go of a lot of those expectations. And a lot of times we put them on ourselves, but it is society. It is what we've learned and what we've grown up with. But then as adulthood too, it's learning to let that go and just say, it doesn't have to be perfect. I can just be me. I don't have to put on a performance, it's hard to unlearn all of those expectations and unlearn all of that, everything that you were brought up to be. This is how life should be.
Yeah, but I think that's where it's really cool because if you can get to a place to where you are open, for example, with me, like with religion, I was very open with hearing different things, which makes me I'm very confident in my belief today. I'm very confident in how I live my life today. I'm very confident in my values. And that's only because I believe I have been so willing to be open and hear so many different things to where I now believe that I have made the decision for myself. And I have, and it's not just religion, it's all the things, right? Of just being able, I'm okay with I can hear your opinion. And if I think that in my soul, I need to shift a little bit to make me a better human, I'm open to that. But otherwise, if I still stand firm and like, this is what's valuable and important to me, then like, I'm confident in who I am. And I believe that's how we build confidence, right? Confidence, the definition of confidence is just a trust and belief. So
Mm.
all we have to do is trust and believe in ourselves. But I don't think that we can get to that point unless we are open to hearing all different things. So that way, when someone does try to say, no, you should think this way. Well, actually, I've already experienced that. I've already evaluated that. I've already, thank you for your feedback, but I'm going to stand firm in my belief. So I just think it's really important that, I think a lot of people think that confidence comes, especially when it comes to like our beliefs and our values, is if we just shun everybody else away. Like this is just how it is and this is important. But when you do open yourself up to other ideas, like it does make you a bit more confident in your opinion because you formed it for yourself.
Yes.
So
I 100% agree on that. I feel like that's so great. And I think so for me, mine has been a 3-year journey of just trying to figure out myself because I lived for so long. I lived for what 38 years. I lived just doing what I felt like I should be doing because that was what the world told me to do. my hope is that people learn that they can do that before that age, so that
Mhm.
you don't have to unlearn all this stuff at such an older age.
Yeah.
But it's learning all the ways and being open. I think that's what's gotten me so far in the last 3 years too, is just being open. And it's so hard seeing other people, especially from my past, that get real judgmental about where you're going and what you're doing. But truly, we have our own paths, and that's the biggest thing that I want anybody listening here to know, is that we have our own journey, and this is my journey and you're on your journey, and it looks different for everybody, and it's not our job to judge anybody else's journey. It's our job just to be here and love, and to be a place and a source of love and guidance and hope, but never to judge. And so my mindset has shifted so much on just being open to hear anything and everything, and whatever religion it is, whatever, anything that somebody might have told me when I was little that I was going to go to hell or something like that. Like, I'm like, I just want to hear now. I want to hear it, and I want to form my own opinion on it, because that's truly, like you said, where you can find the confidence then to be like, well, this is what I've experienced. This is what I know. This is how it feels like in my body. And so I think that's really important too, is just learning it for yourself and being so open, like you were talking about. And so I think it's beautiful that your parents allowed you to be so open when you were in high school, because I think, and maybe my parents would have been open, but I was just too afraid to even rock the boat, I guess is a good word to put
Yeah.
it, you know?
I think I won't say that my parents were open. It wasn't, it was it was a very struggle time. It was also a time when I was going to church camps and stuff, and I was told that I couldn't date people with different color skin than me because that means that we're mixing yolks and that's against the Bible. Like, I was being told a lot of these things. And so I started, again, I think that's where my confidence started building, because I'm like, wait a second, like, like you said, like in your body, like it felt wrong. Like, it didn't feel right to me that I couldn't love someone who looks different than me. That just didn't make sense to me. Like, no matter how you tell me it, I don't believe that that's how my God would, like, that's not what they would say. I don't believe that. And so I started questioning all these things. And so it was a lot of people like, no, like, don't question that. Don't think about that. Like, this is the way that it is. But I just knew in my soul at that moment. And that's when I started the questioning. And I was like, no, I don't, it's okay that you're going to be mad at me for asking these questions and saying that I can see why people think differently. But I'm going to be okay with that, because I feel like this is the right thing to do. And so it was scary. It was like, I don't want to say scary because I was very safe. But like in the mindset of like, I'm questioning my
Yeah.
parents, which I was always wanting to try to please them. And now I'm questioning you, and how you're raising me, essentially, is how they took it. But now it's wonderful because I have been able to shift a lot of thoughts and mindsets of my family to be more open. They still have their beliefs and what's important to them, which I think is beautiful. But I've been able to open up their mind to different things, which again, I think makes them more confident. It makes me more confident. And now it's just like, again, going back to that whole, we're just all trying to be happy. Like, think about it. We literally only get one life to live. There are 8 billion humans on the planet, and not one person is just like you. Like, you are so lucky to be on this earth. And yet, like, we're sitting around thinking about other people's thoughts and trying to figure, like, all these things. Like, homie, like, let's just be happy. Like, what brings you joy? Like, what makes you feel good? Like, do more of that, feel that way, and let the other person who does different things and believes different things, like, let them be them. Like, they're living their best life. We only got, some people get 100 years on this earth, but it goes by fast. So, like, life is meant to be lived. It's supposed to be happy. It's supposed to be joyful. And so getting stuck in these mindsets of judging and, condemning other, like, we ain't got time for that. Like, go live your life. Go have fun.
That was beautiful. I loved it. I want to touch on your shirt before
Oh,
we wrap it up, because I was noticing that before we started and I wanted to talk about it. I absolutely love your shirt.
thank
It
you.
talks just about like sisterhood. Sisterhood is powerful and sisters we trust. I just love it. A league of their own. So,
Yeah.
so great. I mean, I wish, like, if your husband can figure out where he got that from, because you said you got it from your husband, right? I think you
Yeah, a couple years ago, it's Under Armour. So I don't know if we can still find more editions, but it is Under
I
Armour.
just love it. I think
Yeah.
it's so great because sisterhood it's so
Mhm.
powerful, especially if we can stop the comparison and the jealousy and yeah, just all of that, and just love each other where we're at for who we are.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the goal.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
good.
this has been so amazing. Do you have anything that you would like to share? Any parting words? Anything that you are like, wait, I wanted to share this, or anything before we sign off here today?
I think we covered just about
Yeah.
everything. Again, it all comes down to if you do anything in your life, I just hope that you make choices where you can stand in front of the mirror and you look yourself in the eyes and you love who you are, not what you see, but literally look at, like, I don't think our mirrors were meant to help us judge our bodies. Our mirrors were meant so we could look in our own eyes and see who we are, what those values are, what those beliefs are, and ask yourself, what is going to bring me joy? And do yourself a favor and try, right? Like, make effort. It's not going to happen tomorrow, but to think about your body a little bit less and to really just ask yourself, tune into your body. Like Jess was saying, listening to your body and doing things that will help you pay attention more to that. So that way, again, like we said, the whole point is to be happy. Like, that's the whole point of being here on this earth, is to fulfill your purpose, to feel good, to have joy, to have more energy. And so it's just about doing those things. And so focusing on those things, if there's anything else I could do, is just do that, especially for the little girls in your life, because they're going to do what you do. They're not going to do what you say to do. So as much as we say, love your body's perfect, they feel it, they know it, that you don't actually believe that about yourself. And so it starts with us. And so we get to make that ripple effect. And I'll leave it at that.
Yes. So great. This is a beautiful way to end it. So great. Thank you so much for being here. I really enjoyed chatting with you. So we will put all of I think you've given me your website and your social media and things. So we will link that all in the show notes here. So thank you for joining us here today.
Thank
Oh, thank you for listening to this episode. I hope you loved listening as much as I loved recording. Each and every conversation that I have here on this podcast just lights my soul on fire. I love having conversations where we explore and challenge our ways of thinking. So if you've resonated with anything here and you're looking for more, please connect with me on Facebook in my Soul Deep community group, which is free. I'm also offering all my listeners a free month in my Soul Deep Connection membership. I have poured my heart and soul into this membership, bringing you resources to help you grow into the best and truest version of yourself. I've used my knowledge and experience as a nurse, combined with my knowledge and experience as a coach, breathwork facilitator, and somatic embodiment guide. This library consists of breathwork, kriyas, and other resources and modalities that will help you learn about and give you the healing tools to live the life you've been dreaming about, and to help you find your true passion and zest for life again. This library of resources is vital for everyday maintenance. And on top of the library of resources, there are live monthly calls, ranging from breathwork, kundalini, full moon or new moon circles, as well as guest speakers on a variety of different topics, from decluttering to marketing to sisterhood and all things healing and wellness. So make sure you join today to get you back on track to living that thriving life that you are longing for. Remember, the first month is free, and my hope is that you find so much value that staying is an absolute no-brainer. It really is everything that I was looking for as I started my journey, and so much more. I truly hope to see you inside my community. And if you haven't yet, please follow me here and on social. Like and subscribe, and make sure to share your favorite episode with your friends and community. And when you do, make sure to tag me in that post. If you tag me, you'll be entered into a drawing for that month where you can win a free one-to-one session, breathwork or coaching session with me. All the links will be in the show notes here below. Until next time, Soul Deep fam, and in the words of my dear friend Mary Lacey Banks, I'm holding you so tight in a thought hug.